Vastor. Rashi cites the Gemara in Pasuk Yud Aleph, more Kedushin Dibur Torah Kenegi Yitzhara. That the Torah forbids the Eish Vastor. It's because you have to. The Torah is we have to contend with the Yitzhara. Why? Shemein Akosh Baruch Hu Matiro Yiseinu B'Yisur. Because if you don't permit her, he'll violate in either case. So it's like, it's the worst of the best, so to say. But ultimately, the Torah is telling us, in Nosa Sofa Liosona. What's the rationale? If it's within man's ability to take control, it takes control. Shemein HaKadosh Baruch Hu Matiro Yiseinu B'Yisur. He's going to cross the line. I mean, most people fail in most things. So, because most people fail, therefore, what you shouldn't establish what the law is. No, that's already Jewish. I'm not learning Jewish. That's Jewish. Not the Yitzhara. Not the Yitzhara. No, that's the Orachim HaKodesh. Your greatest enemy is the Yitzhara, lurking always to ensnare you. No, the Gemara discusses why does Torah permit this? I mean, she's not Jewish, and not only that, even if she's a married woman, you can take her. She's married to a non-Jew, you can take her. So, and even the conversion, what ultimately happens is it's a forced conversion. She's not interested. It's only because of her state of hopelessness, she has no choice but to agree. So to say, she's in that predicament almost. No, about why the Benos Yisrael should rejoice and she should what? No. So I once said, when does a person normally? When is the greatest? When's the person's greatest moment of vulnerability? When you lose focus. You lose focus. That's your greatest moment of vulnerability. When you're in battle. What are you? You're frantic. When a person's in that mode, all he thinks about, so every other defense, other than physical survival, all other defenses are let down. That is the most vulnerable moment a person has. As a result of that, you're vulnerable for the what? All the machinations of the Yitzhara. You see, a woman, could be ugly as sin, because it says, right? The Gemara says, she doesn't have, even if she's not a pastor, you desire her. You understand? The battle. How could you desire? She's up. If you have an attraction to her, the Torah says, we permit it. Because otherwise, if you want to permit it, he's going to cross the line. It's only at this particular moment. Because a person actually has lost his focus, his balance, and when you lose your balance, the person can't be held accountable, so to say. He'll do it be a sir.
So it seems to be two different things. Rashi says you have to wait at least a month.
No, that's something else. That's to take her as a wife. You can only, according to most Rishonim, only cohabit with her once on the battlefield. But once you've satisfied that, now you make your decision. Are you taking her home or you're not taking her home? You can leave her or you can take her home as a wife. No. With the Orachim HaKodesh, it's a whole different understanding. The only reason why you attracted her because it's an indication she has a special neshama. That's the reason. But if you learn on a very simple level, it is because otherwise the act itself is purely a physical act. The Torah wants to give it, even though initially you allowed it because you desired her, but ultimately the person has in mind that he's going to take her home as a wife. So it doesn't turn into a totally physical act. It will have value in terms of a relationship. And if you have no interest in her, You send her off. If you're not permitted to sell her for money, like a slave, like a chattel. You should not afflict her, because you've already afflicted her. Meaning you shouldn't use her as a slave, because you've already afflicted her. Ultimately, you're going to hate her. Yeah, it's difficult. Because this is sending her off before you marry her. Don't sell her. It's not speaking after she converted. It's understood you can't, right? You can't sell her a Jew. So it means she's still a non-Jew. When does it say the Torah informs you ultimately you're going to hate her? When is that? That's after you marry her. That's when you're going to despise her, right? When she's permitted, when she's your wife, right? So what does it mean? Because of Sophilisnosa is what? Much later. It's not at this moment, right? So I think maybe it means. The system cites the Rabbi Chumash Rashi asked the question, Lo yadati mehechon dorshu zeh? How do they know this? Simply lo chapatztaba means it's not because ultimately, right? Lo chapatztaba, it's now. So I was thinking like this: what is Torah permitted on the battlefield? So we say because a person is in this vulnerable state because it's survival. He's in survival mode. What about when he brings her home? Brings her home, so now he's regained his rational thinking. Now that you realize that you have no interest in this kind of woman, maybe you could she's a spoil of war, you could sell her off as a chattel. That's lo yochafatz the book. Hakosmash means now the Torah is telling you, when you look at it, this is going to be my wife. Ultimately, it's not going to last. This marriage is not going to last. You're going to despise her. Not now you can despise her. As it says, since ultimately it's going to end up this way, but now the person's thinking rationally. Now that he comes back with her, you think rationally. Where's this ending up? She's going to say to you, she's going to be your Eishes Chayil. I had a story many years ago. Distant relative from my wife, Alo Shalom. And it's interesting. He himself became a Chabadska. His father was the leading orthopedic surgeon in Baltimore. He's a psychiatrist. He's married. His first wife, he was married to a Sephardic woman. Came from a very miyuchistic of the Sephardic line, and her father was a physicist, genius. Went off, and ultimately he came back. The children came back, became Bali Tshuva, but he raised his family not religious. And that was first. He had his kids from her. Then, for some reason, they were divorced in California. He was a psychiatrist, this person, still a psychiatrist. So when they get a call, he'd like to come for Shabbos, he remarried. He'd like to bring, and is it okay for one of his sons to come? Never met his son. Him I met when he was still single many years ago, maybe 45 years ago. Son from, he has no children from second marriage. His first wife is his son from first. It's his first year of his marriage. He was married to her a few months. So I had to pick them up. They came in with the Jewish bus, picked the son up first. So the son says to me, he says, I just want to inform you in advance. I don't want you to be surprised when you see my father's wife. Oh. She's from New Guinea. She's a convert from New Guinea. Okay? So I understand what's coming. So I go the second time, meet her, pick him and his wife up. She's she's from one of the tribes. Okay? So, comes Friday night. He's singing Eishes Chayil. This is his Eishes Chayil. You understand? Okay. The guy comes back for more. He says, this is going to be my Eishes Chayil at my table. You know something? You can't sell her off as a chattel. You can't use her as a servant. You have to let her go. You put her through enough. Let her go. That's what the Torah is saying. No, Rashi. Ultimately, I'm going on the Sifri that Rashi brings. If you have no interest, I understand. I'm just going to Sifri. Lochavatz is going on what? When now, not like Sofa Lisnosa is going on after he marries her. That's referring to. It's not referring to this. Right. To be continued.